Okay, so the January membership meeting for the Guides Association of New York City is now called to order. Welcome everybody. My name is Mike Morgenthau. I'm the president of GANYC, and nice to see everybody coming out on such a balmy, beautiful evening tonight. Want to wish everybody, not just members who are in the house here, but all of our GANYC members, a very, very happy New Year. Whatever holiday you most recently celebrated, whether it was Christmas, or Kwanzaa, or Hanukkah, or Festivus, or anything else. I hope you had a joyful, fun-filled, family-filled, presents-filled, food-filled, booze-filled, if you do that sort of thing, holiday. And I want to wish everybody a very peaceful, very joyful, very happy, safe, and profitable 2025, okay? So thank you so much. We are going to get started here, my friends. So just a couple of quick rules of the road. If you are wearing a red badge, if you have a colored badge red, that means you are an honored guest of us here at GANYC. We're really, really happy to have you, but you cannot address the meeting. That is the one rule that applies to you. You're welcome to listen along to everything we talk about and certainly approach any of us either in leadership capacities or any of the members if you want to chat afterwards. And we no longer have to worry about provisional or full members anymore. So basically everybody who has a green badge is one big happy member of GANYC. There are no more classifications for that, so you have full rights to speak, you have full rights to vote, you have full rights to do everything. Whether you were, even if you were a provisional member last month, there is no more such thing as provisional membership. It's all one big happy GANYC membership. So hopefully that takes away some of the confusion, and we're all one big happy family moving forward, okay? Now, a couple of other rules of the road, my friends. Please, if you've not already done so, silence your cell phones, okay? Please silence your cell phones. We have one addition on my end to the agenda. We have one more committee report that's going to be added. The NYC 400 committee, Chair Gary Dennis is going to give a committee report as well. Any other changes or issues with the agenda? Any additions to the agenda? No? Okay. Can we have a motion to approve the agenda as revised?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. So first up, I'm going to call up Susan Birnbaum, longtime member, to introduce our hosts for the evening. Susan.
Our friend Jerry Gallagher, who is the Chief Operating Officer of the Museum of the City of New York, who has graciously consented for us to meet here. So, Jerry, would you like to come up and say a few words?
Come on over this way, Jerry. Come to the middle of the room.
I don't have much to say. I just, other than welcome. Always happy to have the folks from GANYC here. And I will be out in the hallway hoping to guide any last-minute arrivers to the meeting. But welcome. My colleague Audra Goldstein is here, and she's going to have a lot of wonderful information for you. So, but I'll turn it over back to Susan.
You took the words out of my mouth. So, Audra, would you like to? Sure. Audra is the group tour person at the museum, and I think you folks will be interested in what she has to say.
Yes, I'm so excited that you're all here. Welcome to the Museum of the City of New York.
Sorry, Audra, could you center yourself a little bit? Because we got the camera
yes,
going.
the camera's going. Yes, and I'm sorry, I filled out a green tab.
Tonight you're a member.
I'm an
of GANYC.
honored
Yes.
member. I love it. So welcome to the Museum of the City of New York. We are so excited that you are here. I am the group tour manager here at the museum. I have met a number of you at that amazing Guides Fair not too long ago in Brooklyn. So it's great to see you and great to see some new faces. Oh, hi Stephanie, how are you? So I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about how we would love to partner with walking tour guides if you had an interest. The museum is really looking for partnerships with you all. If you wanted to enhance your walking tours by using some of our exhibits here in the museum, I would love to work with Bob to set up a fam tour so that you can actually come to see the exhibits and have a tour yourself. if you wanted to integrate some of our exhibits into your walking tours. So for example, if you cover civil rights in your walking tour, we have an activist gallery where you would be able to utilize the different case studies. We also have our Shirley Chisholm exhibit going on for Black History Month, if that was something of interest to you. We have for New York City history. Many of you have been here before, I know, and spent a lot of time here. But we have our New York at its core galleries, which are 2 galleries that cover the history of the past 400 years of New York City, starting with the Lenape and ending around 2020. We have a new graffiti exhibit. I know we have a lot of guides like Catherine here who do mural art tours, mosaic tours, street art, where you would be able to integrate our graffiti exhibit into your walking tour. And we would give major discounts for that. For each participant in your group, it would be only $5 to get in. Usually it's $23 with a group. So if this is something that you're interested in, please take one of our guides, which are on the table right here for on your way out. My card is here. Just send me an email and we can go from there and talk about it. We would love to have your visitors. We are really trying after the pandemic to continue to build our visitorship here in the museum and have amazing guides come in. Another thing that we can do is if you don't have a tour maybe in the area that you give, is possibly giving out coupons to you that you can give to your visitors, $5 entry fees for discounted rates.
That's
Yeah. So please do take one of these guides. It is a brief overview of some of our exhibits in the museum. We have our You Are Here film also, which if you haven't seen it on the 3rd floor is amazing. It's snippets of different movies, mainly from the 70s and 80s. It's really cool. It's very immersive. It's amazing. So definitely contact me if you wanted to just come back on your own to walk around the exhibits. I can comp your visit and I can meet you downstairs and I would love to take you around and we would love to have some of your groups. Yeah,
welcome. So, does anybody have any questions for Audra? Yeah, Anina. And again, if you're gonna, I didn't mention this before, if you're gonna address the meeting, please stand up and identify yourself.
There you go.
Hi, I'm Anina. So I always ask, how wheelchair accessible is the museum?
Oh, we are very ADA accessible. So our side entrance at 104th Street here has a ramp. Yes, it has a ramp. And so you would you would tell me when you were interested in coming with your group, and I would look on our master museum calendar, make sure we had the space in our galleries, that there weren't 5 other school groups or something in the gallery that you were interested in. You would bring the group in through the side, we have the ramp, and then our elevators are right here on the ground floor. They go right up to the exhibits.
So if it was just an individual in a wheelchair, the museum itself is all accessible?
Completely accessible.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
Any other questions for Audra? Yeah, go ahead.
John Hackey, I just want to say I've seen the video You Are Here, and it's amazing. So especially if you love movies, you got to go see this immersive. It's great.
It's amazing. Yeah, it is. Thank you so much.
I have a quick question. So for people who give regular walking tours, obviously those are laid out and planned many months, in advance, and we start working on them.
Right.
So what's the best way for us to find out about upcoming exhibits that might work? Let's say, I don't do a graffiti arts tour or a civil rights tour, but maybe there's something you have coming up that would work more into something that I.
Yeah, we have our Art Deco tour. Also,
right, exactly.
Our Art Deco exhibit. Well, we can have a greater partnership as well, and I can send you upcoming exhibits, press releases, and then you can share that.
Yep.
I would love that.
We'd love to do that.
You might try one of our tours.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, continue doing that through Bob as our point of contact for industry relations, but yeah, we'll get the information out.
Love that.
Yeah. Okay, Mike.
Yeah, hi. Audra, how do you differ from the New York Historical Society?
I love that question. I love that question. I actually actually used to teach at the New York Historical Society. We are New York City specific.
Okay.
Yes, whereas the New York Historical Society is more New York
Okay.
specific, but we are really focused on New York City itself.
Catherine, you had a question.
Oh, so you said.
Stand up, stand up.
Yeah. Hi, Catherine. Coupons, so
Yeah.
those are physical coupons, or would we actually have like a QR code that we could share with guests?
So I'm working on, with our design team, creating a physical coupon. A QR code is something that I can see if the team can work on, if that would work better for
Not that it would be
you.
disseminated, across the universe, but.
Yeah, we were thinking physical,
Okay,
but it's not out of the realm of possibility. I can definitely speak for.
so that's something we would work out with you.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Great, yes.
Ellen Simon, I just wanna see if the Titanic gave us a code for a discount, so that might be easier for you, I don't know. So that when you buy
Yeah.
them, you put a code in and then you get the discount.
Yeah, we do have a group experience discount for groups that come in for our online shop, so it's something that I can work on. It's a possibility, definitely.
Great. Anything else for Audra? Yes.
Yes, hi, my name is Jim Wunsch.
Hi, Jim.
Thank you for hosting this.
Yeah.
When a person comes to this museum, I think they find a certain comfort or security in being in the museum, but the great thing about this museum is it's really in a remarkable neighborhood. And I wondered if you ever, have you given any consideration to having sort of regular tours of you've got a pretty nice park across the street. You've got one of the great medical, historical institutions. You've got a remarkable Hispanic institution, one of the great auditoriums, right around the corner from here. Well, I mean, if you can just get people to take a walk around the block, that adds quite a bit to a museum experience.
Yeah.
Just think about it. I don't know whether someone here will be sitting in a booth and for a few bucks to take you around the block. Think
Well,
about
I know
that.
pre-pandemic, we
Yeah.
did have tours that went out
Yeah.
to the neighborhood. So we are thinking in terms of partnering.
Yeah.
So that could be a conversation as well.
Maybe with this group, huh?
Yeah, definitely with this group, yeah.
All right, we have time for one more question. Ann.
Just a little factoid, Maria Callas, the movie's coming out about Maria Callas. She was actually born in what is now the nursing home up the street. So, those are your opera fans.
So was I.
Just
All right. Well, Audra, thank you so much for
Thank
hosting
you.
us.
I'm
We really
so
appreciate
excited
it.
you're all here. I love
And I just want to say that as long as I've been involved in the leadership of GANYC, we've always enjoyed a really, really strong partnership with the Museum of City of New York. They've been very generous to us in terms of space and resources. And of course, we have several members like Susan, who is a docent here. And so we love that we're kind of reinvigorating our partnership with the Museum of the City of New York, and hopefully bigger and better things to come. So thank you again for having us, Audra. We really, really appreciate it. So, okay, we're gonna move along. We do have to adjust the itinerary a little bit. Kelly Curtin is on her way, but she's not here yet. So we're gonna move down to the next item on the agenda. And to introduce our next speaker, I'm gonna call up our Associate Director, Harvey Davidson.
Hi, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks all for being here. It's my pleasure tonight to introduce Julie Payne, who is a group sales consultant for Hershey's Chocolate World. And I'm sure some of you, your mouths are watering when you hear chocolate. Julie is hopefully going to tell you some very interesting things that we have planned coming up. Julie?
Great. Thank you.
Very good.
Did you bring samples?
I was going to. Harvey and I spent the afternoon together working on an event, hopefully coming up for all of you for Valentine's Day, which I'm going to talk about. And we ran out of time, or I would have run back and got samples. So I'm going to have to encourage you to all come to Hershey's Chocolate World Times Square. So as Harvey mentioned, I'm Julie Payne. I'm actually based in Hershey, Pennsylvania. And I come and work here at Times Square at our Hershey's location on 47th and 7th work at both locations. I absolutely love your city. It is a dream for me to work here. Like it is, and the people we've met are just so incredible, so amazing, and I just am really grateful to be part of GANYC. I think I've been a member about 6 years, so you don't see me all the time because I'm in Hershey, Pennsylvania, so I try to plan around your events, but it's a real honor to be here. So when you think of Hershey, you think of chocolate, right? Of course, and it's wonderful chocolate, and we all love the chocolate, and I will share chocolate, I promise. But there's a story behind the chocolate. It's a rags to riches story. There's such a wealth of knowledge here. And some of you may be familiar with Milton Hershey, our founder. I think that's what I'm most proud of, is to represent his company, because he is phenomenal. He was not only just, a very poor boy with a 4th grade education and a dream, but he also was a man that when he found success, he was kind, he was loving. He also he left every penny he had to a school. They were able to have children, and he created the Milton Hershey School for Children, him and his wife, which today has a foundation that he gave every penny to that helps thousands of kids across North America. So we're just so grateful. I'm so thankful to be part of that. So what we do now is we share that story. We have a little sweet tour that we share that story, and I would love to share all of that with you. We also, something kind of new is today would be a perfect day for a hot chocolate, right? I wish I could have brought that for everybody. But the other new thing is that within probably a month, they say, hopefully in a month, we'll be doing that you can pre-order. So let's say you have a tour in Times Square and you want to have hot chocolate for everyone, you can pre-order that, or a milkshake in the summertime, or whatever you want, so you don't have to wait in line, things like that. So we're going to have all those opportunities available, which I'll make sure I get to Bob and the team here as well. So the big event that we're working on, the education committee has to prove it all, so I can't promise, but what we're hoping to do, I found a new friendship and partnership with John's Pizza on 44th. I think they have great pizza. Harvey and I can account for it. We had some today. That's why we don't have chocolate. We ran late. I'm sorry. So what we're hoping to do is host an event with John's Pizza. They'll have a few drinks, some pizza, and then we'll come to Hershey's Chocolate World for a little mini tour, that little sweet tour that I mentioned, hot chocolate, and just have a nice Valentine's event. So I really hope we can get that off. If not, we'll do it another time. I'm really hoping we could do it for Valentine's Day, because that is we're the sweetest store in Times Square, and it's a very special day for all of us. So so I thank you for having me. I'm a huge fan of GANYC, and certainly very impressed by all the talent in this room. So thank you so much.
That's great. Hold on. The tour guide, we always have questions.
Sorry, I forgot. I love questions.
And Julie has been since she got involved with GANYC as an industry partner, she's been one of our most consistent and persistent industry partners, which we really appreciate. And this event is news to me, which is great. It sounds absolutely wonderful. So, does anybody have any questions for Julie? Yes, Anne in the back. Stand up, please. Stand up.
Yeah, and do we have to pay for the party?
No, you'll be our guest. Yep.
Anybody else? Mike.
Julie, what's the latest on dark chocolate as a medicinal product?
Oh, eat lots of it. It's great for you.
Is there something there that we should know?
Yes, they do say it has more antioxidants. So if you eat dark chocolate, you're going to live a long, healthy life. Okay. I'd say eat any chocolate, long, healthy, happy life for sure.
Anina, then Stan. Anina.
This sweet tour,
Yes.
is it a GANYC thing, or is it open to the public?
The sweet tour for now is just for groups.
So if I got a group,
yes,
it's a group
we would
tour.
have we would have a guide host you for that for now. We are going to look at opening that for the public. We're maybe hoping for Q4 for that, so it's going to take a little bit of time, but that's what we're hoping.
But right
for.
now it's open to groups.
Just group, right?
Just
And
groups.
you can book that through me directly. Yep, I'll book that all for you for groups. Yeah.
And her contact information is on our industry partner page. So before you ask how do I get in touch with you, industry partner page on the website. Okay, Stan.
Hi,
Hi,
Stan.
Dan O'Connor. In the store, do you have the sugar-free chocolates?
We sure do.
I'll
We
write
do.
it down.
We have lots of sugar-free. We actually have Reese's sugar-free now too, which is really nice. And we have
And
plant-based. There's also a lot of plant-based. We bring a lot of Broadway entertainers in the store, and they all love plant-based. So it's really great that we have those options as well. Yeah.
Great. Ellen.
There's going to be a training with Trip School in February. There'll be about 10 people, and I think bringing them in for hot chocolate, ordering it in advance would be really wonderful, because they're training to be guides in New York. So how would I arrange that?
Reach out to me if we don't have our
Through the-
system
through the
set,
industry
yeah,
thing.
if we don't have the system set up yet, that's
It-
okay,
it's-
I'll
it-
make sure you get taken care of.
It's middle February.
Perfect, yep, just reach out to me, I'll help you with that.
Thank you.
So, my pleasure, thank you.
All right, we have time for one more question. Dave, stand up, please.
Hi, thanks for speaking for us. My name is Dave. Milton Hershey has a little bit of my tour. I do mention him. I was
Oh.
wondering if maybe you could help me out with something.
Sure, I'll try.
As you must be knowing, in the Hershey Museum, there's a canceled check to the White Star Line
Correct?
for the trip that he never took on Titanic.
Correct?
Because he was going to sail, but he took a German liner, the America, instead,
Yeah.
spelled with a K. And the America was one of several liners that sent ice warnings to Titanic. So I do mention that, but I was wondering if you knew why he came back early. Was it something urgent?
The two stories that I heard, one was business, and he had to come back early for business, but the other, his wife's health was family. Kitty, his wife, Catherine Hershey.
So she was here?
So I'm not sure where they were sailing back from, so I think they were sailing back, that I don't know. But they did not take it because of either his business or her health. Those were the two reasons that I've heard both so far, yeah.
So she would have been in the States then, he was coming back to her?
No.
I think she was with him and they had to get back earlier.
Okay.
So either one of those, but yeah.
Both
Because we
good
did a
stories.
partnership with the Titanic Museum, and they were writing an article, and that was the two reasons that they had counted for, so.
That's good. All right,
Yeah,
thanks.
yeah.
Background.
Great. Well, Julie, thank you so much.
Thank
We
you,
appreciate
everyone.
it.
Thank you.
And we look forward to finding out about the event and all
Sounds great.
joining you for some pizza and sweets on
Sounds
Valentine's.
great. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, so thank you,
Happy New
Julie.
Year.
So I'm going to call Harvey back up to introduce our next guest speaker. So Harvey, come on down.
No applause, I'm back again, but that's okay. It's my pleasure to introduce Kelly Curtin, who is with New York City Tourism Plus Conventions. You may know that their old name is the New York City Convention Bureau, but they've changed their name. They're in a new location, and Kelly will tell you all about that. Kelly is the Executive Vice President of Membership and Destination Services. So Kelly, come on down and tell us your story.
I mess up our new name, Harvey does, and Harvey is one of our great board members, so thank you for your service to us. It's always, and thank you, Mike, it's always an honor to speak to the Guides Association. We have a long-time partnership with you all. You are on the front lines with our visitors, so we are most grateful to you for really bringing the spirit of hospitality and welcoming them all the time and making their experience great so that they return, they go home, they tell their family, their friends. So you are really the frontline ambassadors, so thank you for all the work that you do. Hello, Susan, how are you? I'm here to present a special award, but since I have the floor, I just wanted to give you a couple of really quick updates, which are yesterday, we kicked off reservations for all of our vibrancy programs. So we have these programs, we call them our vibrancy programs because right now the city is kind of slow. I was able to jaywalk about an hour ago across Fifth Avenue. I had a quick coffee meeting with the head of Saks, and I mean, you know, right? 2 weeks ago, you couldn't even get through if the light turned green, and I was just strolling along. There's no traffic. I don't know if it's the congestion pricing, but there's no traffic. So of course, this is, you all know, this is the slower time of year, January and February, and that's when we load up all of our programs. We call them our vibrancy programs because the goal is to get people to participate and come to New York City and keep it vibrant. So we have Restaurant Week, which started in 1992. I'm sure you all know that because you're all students of New York City. It started with the GANYC convention when Bill Clinton was nominated to the ticket. Anyway, so Restaurant Week is going to be 33 years old, I guess, this year. So Restaurant Week reservations kicked off yesterday. Broadway Week went on sale. Broadway Week is buy one, get one Broadway tickets. Must See Week, which is buy one, get one free tickets to attractions, some performing arts, as well as some museums and some tours as well. What else do we have going on? Hotel Week, that actually started in November, and it's 25% off rack rate of hotels. And what do we have? Restaurant Week, Broadway Week, Must See Week, and Hotel Week. And those programs are running January 21 to February 9. Something else that I'm really excited about this year is that we've been talking a lot with the Broadway League, and you know, they represent all the theater owners. And Broadway is doing well, but there is concern that the tri-state audience is not back to Broadway, and there's a lot of different reasons for that. But anyway, one thing I thought about with them is having them do an educational Zoom on what's playing on Broadway. People ask me, and I'm like supposedly in the know, and I don't always know. I don't know that Denzel Washington is starring in something. So I said it would be really great if we did a Zoom, you know, 45 minutes, maybe an hour at the most, maybe in the morning. People can join with their coffee, and you all do a presentation on what's coming to Broadway. So I'm excited about this. It's probably gonna be in February, maybe March. They can't pull it together so quickly. But we're gonna invite all of our members. I wanna invite the Concierge Association. I wanna invite the whole Big Apple greeter community. I'd love to invite the Guides Association. I just think the more people in our community, the better, that know what's happening on Broadway. We're all ambassadors in that way too. So just wanna let you know about that. And then what else do I have on my list? Founded by. So I know, again, you all know that this year is the 400th anniversary of New York City. Next year is 250th of America. We have created a platform called Founded by NYC, celebrating all of the things that were invented here in New York City, in addition to commemorating the fact that history is made every single day in New York. So I don't know if anyone saw the mayor on New Year's Eve, but he announced it. He actually played our commercial on the broadcast, which was pretty cool, because we would never have money to pay for that. But so we launched it, and there is a page on our website, and we're gonna continue to build it out. So any thoughts you might have on that? I know, Harvey, I know you guys are very aware of that, but just wanted to call your attention to that. And what else is on my list really quickly? The last thing is the gates. Can you believe this is the 20th anniversary of the gates?
Wow.
Right? Seems like yesterday.
I know that because my daughter's about to turn 20, but I remember walking in February, very pregnant.
Right? Walking for 23 miles through 7,000 flags, right? Amazing. So, you know, that was, that happened, that was 26 years in the making. I had to refresh my memory on this, but anyway, it was 26 years in the making with Christo and Jean-Claude, and very heavily supported by Mike Bloomberg. So, so no surprise that Bloomberg Philanthropies is really into celebrating the 20th anniversary of the Gates. And they're gonna, yeah, very cool, right? So they're gonna do it in 2 ways, and it's all free. So the dates are February 12th to March 23rd. There's gonna be an exhibit at the Shed that will be free. And the name of the exhibit, if I'm not mistaken, is The Unrealized Works of Jean-Claude and Christo for New York City. So that should be pretty interesting. And then, do you know there's that app called Bloomberg Connect, right? Okay, so and then the other thing is, so there'll be the thing at the Shed, and then if you go into Central Park and you pull up your Bloomberg Connect app, there's some kind of AR feature, so that I have to imagine you'll be able to recreate the experience. You should bring your daughter and download it together and walk it together. That you'll be able to recreate the experience of walking through the gate. So that's pretty cool. I did make it, like, I don't know, I didn't know how many people would be here. I think I have like 30 copies of like a really basic handout, but better yet, maybe I could just send you what Bloomberg sent me. There's a bunch of like links to websites where you can get more information.
Yeah, email it to us, we'll get it out to everybody.
Okay, great. It's very exciting. Okay, so there's an organization that you're probably familiar with, NYSTIA, New York State Tourism Industry Association. I'm a former board chair of that organization. It's a great organization, and they have their annual meeting every fall, and they have some awards. And the Guides Association won a big award. And Harvey and Mike couldn't make it, so on behalf of New York City, I accepted the award for you, and now I want to present it to you. So the award was for excellence in overall tourism marketing The key thing is, with a budget under $500,000. Right? Now, I know your budget is not near $499,000. No way. You have no paid staff. You're all volunteer. Your budget, I can't even imagine. It's very small. So it's pretty amazing, I think, that you won this award. And amazing, but not a surprise because of the good work you do. And so the award was really put forward, I think, by the Industry Relations Committee. And it was to celebrate all the fam trips and the site visits that you all orchestrated from 2022 to 2023. Educating all of your members about everything there is to see and do in all 5 boroughs. And you know, it helps with education, it builds awareness, and then people visiting those sites and those attractions creates economic vitality in the neighborhood, and you know the story. So it is a great pleasure of mine.
So can we have Harvey and Bob from Industry Relations, and is Nina here? Yeah. Education's here too, so you guys all come up because it was for all of you.
Right? Beautiful.
Very nice.
Congratulations.
And each committee member can take it home for a week.
Absolutely.
And some ed people stand up for a minute, because
Yes.
yeah, can everyone?
Anyone who's on the Education Committee or the Industry Relations Committee who's sharing this as well, please stand up.
Want me to get out?
No, I want them all in here.
Yeah, sure.
Come on. Or anyone who's in industry relations, because this is like a whole people,
All right, yeah,
we're people organization.
Yeah, come closer, come
Jeremy,
closer.
Jeremy,
Tall people in the back,
Yeah.
come on, you know what?
Sarah, Eileen.
Politically challenging.
Okay, well done. Well, we'll clap again. If Hollywood could do it for the entire month of January, we could do it for
Absolutely.
5 minutes.
And if somebody will send me the picture, I'll get it to NYSTIA.
Just one more person, please.
Nina's not giving up, so just stand up, Lisa, she's not gonna give up.
All right.
Well,
You're
thank
so
you.
welcome. You're welcome. Oh my gosh. It was my pleasure.
Thank you for representing us.
Of
We
course.
appreciate it.
We're New York City.
Yep.
Right? It was my honor to accept it for you. So.
Do you have time for a couple of questions? If anybody
Sure.
has questions?
Yeah, what
Okay,
do you
does
got?
anybody have questions for
Okay, I
Kelly?
can answer.
Robin in the back.
Hi, it's Robin. What was the name of Founded By? What was it?
Oh, it's called Founded by NYC. It's pretty cool. We are working with Hamilton, the musical, which is amazing on so many levels. You know, it really, Hamilton on Broadway inspired a whole new audience to go to Broadway, so that's great. It also inspired so many people to be interested in the history period, and history of New York City. So we're really excited.
Have a
to be-
marketing platform to it?
That's what it is. It's called Founded.
Neighborhood Association is planning a 1776 walking tour event.
Oh, yeah.
So I just want to connect.
What's your neighborhood?
Murray Hill Neighborhood Association, we're
Okay.
reconstructing the Battle of Kipps Bay on September 15th.
Amazing.
And Mary Murray serving General Howe and Wayland.
So we're creating a toolkit. It's not ready yet, but again, I can send it to Mike, and you all can, check out the toolkit and use some of the assets if you want.
So just a quick note about that, and we'll hear more about this when Gary gives his presentation. We have an NYC 400 dedicated committee.
Yes, I know.
We had a conference called with Regan a couple of months
Well,
ago.
that's right, and I was on the first one with
Jen Draper?
Jen Draper.
Yeah. So you were Founded By was just starting to formulate. Our
Yeah.
theme is it all started here, so it all kind of jives, and certainly now that you are up and running, we definitely want to partner as much as possible with what we're planning, with what you're planning, cross promotion, things like that. So that'd be
Yeah.
great. So,
I was also gonna say.
just sorry, Gary had his hand up first,
Oh, go
Stephanie,
for
then
it.
you.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
stand up.
I'm
And this is the chair of our
I'm the
NYC
chair of the
forum.
committee.
Hi,
We
Gary.
need to talk.
Sure.
That's not even a question. We just need to talk.
Okay.
all right? And it all started here.
Yeah.
It all did. I don't care what they say anywhere else. It all started here.
Well, if it was up to me, I was calling the campaign "America Begins in New York City."
That's good.
Yeah, I like that.
It all started here, though.
Okay. Including Restaurant Week and the
It all
Oreo
started
and
here.
lots
It
of
all
things.
started here.
Yeah.
Sound, movies, color TV,
Yeah.
microwave, you know, it
Yeah.
all, safety pin. All
Maybe
started
it's
here. All started here.
If it's okay with you, I'll give him your email address.
Oh, please,
Yeah.
yeah, that would be
Yeah.
great, thank you. Good.
No, we'll connect you.
Okay.
Okay, Stephanie,
And as a, kind of.
stand up, please, stand up.
Oh, sorry, Stephanie, nice to see all of you. I was recently contacted by a hotel concierge who was looking to find ways to like have travel advisors know more, like they have their property, but they're looking to help explain to other people for their clients who are coming what's special about their neighborhood. And I feel like it kind of all sort of ties in. I'm wondering if NYC and conventions might be a conduit, the same way you're saying like the Broadway League might be able to do a sort of Zoom. I feel like there's the Concierge Association, the Guides Association, all people who are ultimately trying to connect each other to help visitors to the city, especially all related around the 400th anniversary and all this stuff. Like, is there a possibility to have some sort of joint gathering of the concierges and the guides? Because I feel like there's a lot of work that could be, like concierges are looking for guides, guides are looking to be able to connect with clients, and kind of all related to this theme of next year.
I think that's a great idea. Sorry. Does anyone have water?
Yeah.
I got a
I see a pasta.
I might come to the rescue. I might come to the rescue. Oh, you
Oh,
got
yeah,
one?
I have one.
Okay.
Do you mind?
No, no.
I think that's a great idea. I actually presented to the Concierge Association right before the holidays, so I can reach out to them and see.
Yeah, only because, like, not to be silly, but similar to what we just had at TripCon, where there was tour companies, even somebody like the museum meeting with tour guides. Part of it is just having you sometimes need the energy in the room, to get together and have people connect. I think there's a lot of synergies to be done.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Anything else for Kelly? Okay.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Kelly.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And as you can tell, Kelly is playing a little injured today, or a little under the weather. So we really appreciate her making the effort to come here. It's been scheduled for a few months, but had to be postponed. So, and we are always very, very much appreciative of our partnership with NYCTC. Been great partners through the years. And in fact, with Harvey serving as ex officio member of the board of directors, our relationship with NYCTC gets stronger each and every year. So we really appreciate everything that you do for the city and for tour guides, and we're always happy to support any initiatives that you guys have going on.
Thank you so much, and we feel the same, so thank you for all you do.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Appreciate it. Okay. So, now it's time for my president's report. So I already wish everybody a Happy New Year, but in case you came in late, Happy New Year once again. Really nice to see everybody. Speaking of the holiday season, on Monday, I'm happy to see a lot of faces in this room that were there at our post-holiday party on Monday at the Hard Rock Cafe. So I just wanted to say thanks to Bob and to Harvey and the membership committee as well for helping to set up that event. And as soon as I shouted out Bob, he ran out of the room. So, but I'm sure he will be back. So it was really nice. The Hard Rock did a nice job for us, and it was nice to get together after the craziness. As Kelly just mentioned, now we can actually cross the streets in peace and things like that. So that's why we always do our holiday party after the holidays, because most of us are usually pretty darn busy during the holiday season, giving tours and such. So it was a really great event. So thank you, Bob and Harvey, for that. So I don't want to go into a full list of everything, but the coming year promises to be a really busy and important one for GANYC. We're kicking off by having a lot of us going down to Philadelphia at the end of the month for the NFTGA conference, which I'm going to talk about in a little more detail in just a second. Then in March, we have the Apple Awards returning after a one-year hiatus, which is great. We've already talked a little bit about about plans for NYC 400 commemorations. You're going to hear more about that from Gary in a few minutes, and lots of other programs and initiatives to look forward to. We'll also be diving deeper into our plan to rebrand GANYC now that we're kind of out of the busy season. Next couple of months will be a good time for us to start working on that. And we're also talking about kicking off a concerted membership drive, like an actual targeted membership drive for New York City tour guides who are not members of GANYC. It has been years and years and years since we did such a thing. It's been years since we actually had literature made up about GANYC and things like that. So it's something we've started having some brief discussions about. As some of you know, I've made it a goal of GANYC to reach 400 members by the end of 2025 in honor of our 400th anniversary, New York City's 400th anniversary. So that kind of ties hand in hand with that. So stay tuned for information on that, and certainly we'd love input from the membership as well. So I started my first meeting as president last year the same way that I'm going to do it right now. It's a great way to start the year. I want to thank everybody who is really responsible for making GANYC work. And there's really two main segments inside the association that really handle just about everything that GANYC is and does. So I want to thank both sets of those groups. So first, I'd like to really thank the GANYC Executive Board. So if we have board members here, if you guys can stand up and we can show our appreciation. So I'm just going to mention everybody's name, even those who aren't here yet. So Vice Presidents Beth Goff and Catherine Hill, Treasurer Sarah Lyons, Secretaries Lee Hallingby and Mitch Paluzek, and members at large Gary Dennis, Jojo Landon, and Michaela Fagan. So thank you all for your hard work. We appreciate it. Being on the board is a 2-year term. That means that we are now in our second year, which means at the end of the year we're going to have elections for the next board. We have plenty of time to start talking and worrying about that, but I want to plant the seed, right? So if any of you are thinking about maybe getting involved in the leadership of GANYC, start thinking about it. You can certainly talk to me or other board members about what it might be. Certainly board members can run for re-election. We don't have any term limits or anything like that, but there's always a fair amount of turnover. There's usually some holdovers and some new blood coming in as well, which is what helps keep our organization vibrant. So don't need to commit right now, just planting the seed. Just think about maybe you might want to serve on the board of GANYC and kind of help steer the direction of our wonderful association. So, but the election will be in November, so you got plenty of time to worry about that, and there'll be a lot more about that coming along. So next, I want to really shout out our amazing committee chairs who really do the day-to-day work of GANYC and really get everything, keep everything rolling and make sure that we have all of these wonderful events and PDPs and FAM tours and all sorts of other services that the association can offer to you, our membership. So if we have, I'm going to run down the list, but any committee chairs in the room, please stand up. And I'm going to read down the whole list of our committee chairs. So Awards Committee, Sarah Lyons. Certification Committee, Michael Dillinger. Education Committee, Nina Mende. Ethics and Oversight, Susan Birnbaum. Government Relations, Patrick Casey. Industry Relations, Bob Gelber, who still has not come back yet. IT, Emma Guest-Gonzalez. Membership, Ann McDermott. Multilingual Guides, Ronald Grundyke. I can never pronounce his name. He's the new multilingual chair, which is great. Newsletter, Dave Gardner, and Public Relations, Jeremy Wilcox, and NYC 400 Committee, Gary Dennis. So, thank you all for your tireless dedication to GANYC, everything you do for our members. I've said this at many meetings, I try to say it at every meeting, but GANYC would not be the preeminent tourist guide association in New York City, if not the world, in terms of a local association, without all of your hard work, time, dedication, and expertise. So we can't say thank you enough. So at the first meeting of the year, it's always a good time to really acknowledge everybody. So thank you, thank you, thank you, and keep it up. We love what you do, and we really appreciate all of your efforts. So now, a couple of quick things. I don't have a long report tonight. Today marks the end of our official renewal season for those of you for our renewals for the 2025 calendar year. So in the next week or so, any members who have not yet renewed, your profile on GANYC.org will be taken down, turned off, I should say. It doesn't go away. And you will be considered a lapsed member. But here's the good news. All you have to do to become unlapsed is pay your dues. There are no late fees. There's no any late fees associated. We got rid of those a few years ago here at GANYC. So if for whatever reason you have not already submitted your renewal dues for the year, you can just go onto your Wild Apricot site. That does not get shut off. and pay your dues anytime you like. I will tell you that about 70 members did not renew as of yet. That's pretty consistent with what it's been every year. It's usually about a 20% attrition rate. We ended last year with 361 active members, so that's actually a little less than 20% attrition rate. And so we're pleased about that. You know, obviously we'd love the attrition rate to be even lower, but it's basically what's happened just about every year that I've been involved in GANYC leadership. People don't renew for various reasons, whether they're leaving the business or just don't have the finances or didn't get the value out of GANYC that they hoped they would get out of it. Whatever the reasons are, it always happens. It's not something to be concerned about, but it is something that we want to pay attention to, and it's also a reason why we want to keep attracting new members. A, to keep our numbers to the level where we need them for our budget, but also to keep the energy going in the association. So I just wanted to let you all know what the status was for that. So this is basically what we budgeted for, okay? And we're hoping that as we attract new members throughout the year, obviously our revenues will continue to go up, okay? And that's of course why we're having this membership drive, like I said. So again, for anybody in this room who has not yet renewed, you can certainly do it. Do it as soon as you can so your profile does not get turned off on GANYC.org. But for everybody in this room who has already renewed their membership, thank you, thank you, thank you. Your continuing support of GANYC allows us to give all of these great programs and initiatives to our members. So thank you, thank you, thank you for your continued support. A couple other quick things. I did mention the NFTGA conference, which is the National Federation of Tourist Guide Associations. Say that 5 times fast. The NFTGA, which is our National Association of Tourist Guide Associations. So it's us, DC, Boston, Chicago, Las Vegas. It's about 19 associations, I believe, that are member of the NFTGA right now. And they have their conference every other year. This year it's taking place in Philadelphia, January 29th to 31st. Registration is closed. It closed as of January 1st. So if you've signed up, that's great. If you have not signed up, you will get a bunch of reports from members who are going. In fact, as I announced at previous meetings, 8 GANYC members applied and were given stipends to attend the conference in January in Philadelphia. And as the trade-off for getting that stipend is delivering a report on a certain segment of the conference. So for those of you who have gotten the stipend or were told you were going to receive the stipend, I'm going to be sending out an email probably early next week looking to set up a quick Zoom meeting so we could all make sure everybody knows who's doing what at the meeting. Just show of hands. How many of you are registered and planning to go to the meeting to the conference in Philadelphia? Great. So I mention this because there is also now a Facebook page, GANYC to Philly.
2025.
Okay, that's not the one that I saw. So
That's the one you saw is the old one.
Okay.
That's why we started, that's why we got it.
Okay, well, we will send out more information about this because clearly there's a little bit of confusion about it, but there will be a Facebook group to share information and make plans and kind of swap any pertinent information with each other as we move forward. What's that?
Hotel keys.
Hotel keys? It's a little hard to do on Facebook, but I'm sure Zuckerberg's working on it right now. So, yeah. I don't know. I've never seen the NFTGA yet be that kind of party, but maybe. Yeah. So it's going to be a good time. It's always really great to connect with tour guides from all around the USA. And I've not seen the final agenda yet, but as soon as we have it, we'll share it. And obviously, that'll be something that the 8 stipend awardees will discuss in advance. Okay. And I know, I think last month I named everybody who's getting the stipend, but I'll repeat it again. Jonathan Goldstein, Anani Young, Steve Klopper, Jeremy Wilcox, Jared Goldstein, Eileen Rourke, Catherine Hill, and myself. So we will be the 8 who are officially reporting back to you about the events of the NFTGA. Last thing I want to mention, my friends. In recent weeks, we at the board and the IT committee have been getting a lot of emails saying, we didn't know about the insurance deadline. We didn't know about this fam tour. We didn't know about this. We didn't know about that. What that means is that you are not opting in to receive emails from Wild Apricot. That is the only possible explanation, unless it's ending up in your spam folder, in which case you have to figure that out on your own. But if you are not getting regular GANYC emails, whether it's for fam tour invites, whether it's stuff about insurance or renewals, you need to go in to your Wild Apricot site, so their back-end site. It's GANYC.wildapricot.org, and there is a link in the members section on GANYC.org to get there. And then you click on your name on that page, not on GANYC.org, but on GANYC.wildapricot.org, which is our membership management system. Click on your name, and then there'll be a button that says edit, or it says email subscriptions. And that is where you go to click your opt-in to make sure you are getting your emails. Job information as well for people who post to the job board. That's there as well. So it takes 30 seconds. I checked it out. I double checked it today just to make sure I knew what I was talking about. Literally takes 30 seconds. You have to click 2 buttons. That is how you're going to make sure that you keep up to date as much as possible. We do also post just about every event, every bit of information to our internal GANYC members Facebook page, but we know not everybody is on Facebook or checks Facebook. So the most important way, the easiest way for you to get this information is to make sure you are opted in to be receiving emails. In addition, the emails do not come from GANYC.org. They come from Wild Apricot. So please make sure that GANYC@wildapricot.org is not going into your spam, okay? It's GANYC@wildapricot.org, okay? So please make sure that email address, I forget the actual term for making sure something is not in your spam folder, but make sure that you're able to receive emails that comes right to your inbox, and that's going to be another way to make sure that you're getting all of the emails from GANYC as we move along. So it's GANYC@wildapricot.org, okay? All right, and if you have more trouble with that, if for whatever reason it is not working, email the IT committee, IT@GANYC.org. Emma, Mark, and the team there will be happy to try to help you as best as possible, okay? So that is pretty much all I have to report for tonight. Before we move along to committee reports, does anybody have any questions for me? Oh, the speaker, sorry. Never trust the president of the organization. Okay. Okay, so if there are no questions for me, I believe we'll call up Jeremy Wilcox to introduce our guest speaker. Thank you.
Hello everyone, and Happy New Year. And hello to all of you on YouTube land. So I'm going to be introducing Tommy Silk, who's our guest speaker and a member of GANYC and author. So I'm just going to read his bio here and then I'll bring him on up. So Tommy Silk has a degree in history from Fordham University and is a licensed, of course, New York City sightseeing guide. He has lived here in New York City since 2008 and has been documenting his observations of the city and its landmarks on his Instagram account, Landmarks of NY, since 2019. He can often be found riding his bike around the 5 boroughs with a camera around his shoulder, photographing as much as he can. He currently lives in Brooklyn with his wife and 2 dogs. His book, Hidden Landmarks of New York, was released in October of 2024. So without further ado, I want to welcome our guest speaker for the month, Tommy Silk.
Hi everyone. I am honored to be the first speaker of 2025, so thank you so much for having me. As Jeremy said, I am the creator of Landmarks of New York. I don't know what you would really call it, a social media page or a tour. It's just me, so it's my hobby. It's what I do for fun. So I thought I would talk a little bit about my book that just came out in October. Actually, I have 2 copies of it with me if you want to take a look at it later. My publisher is going to be kicking themselves when they see how big this room was and that they did not have any extra copies for me to give. We're in the second printing, which is a good problem to have, right? So I figured we'd talk a little bit about the book, but I'll give you a little background of how I actually got to be standing up here, which is still ridiculous to me that I am, but hey, enjoy it while it lasts, right? So I grew up in Fairfield, Connecticut. I'm not a native New Yorker, don't hold it against me. As Jeremy mentioned though, I've been here for, at this point, just about half my life. I went to Fordham University as soon as I had the opportunity to leave the burbs, I came here. I was always a lover of history, especially local history. So Fairfield, Connecticut, it's not that far from here. It was founded in 1639, so not much younger than New York City. And similar to New York, we had a lot of colonial history that no longer existed because the Brits showed up one day in the 1770s and burned it all down. So for me, growing up in this part of New England, you always looked at these other cities and you're like, wow, that's so nice. You have all these like old salt boxes. You have all this pre-revolutionary stuff that we just didn't have left over, and that always sort of inspired in me this idea of just trying to dig a little bit deeper, but beneath sort of the surface level, to try to find these stories which clearly exist. When I was in Boy Scouts, I took a tour of our town and learned a whole bunch of stuff, and that kind of set me off to kind of view this as something that I really loved. My grandfather was a Washington Heights native, grew up on 188th and St. Nick. He was a history teacher in the Bronx, and then later in Rockland County, eventually became the Rockland County historian. So he and I share the same name, the same degree, the same university. Yeah, you can sort of see where this is going. So he and I were absolutely, obsessed with just talking about history and local history specifically. That was what he loved to do. And I think it's one of those things where, and that's the beauty of an organization like this, where growing up, I would take field trips to Boston, I'd take field trips to New York, I'd take the occasional field trip to Philly, and this might just be my own anecdotal evidence, but New York, we never came to New York because, we're going to see this historical thing. We're going to the Met, we're going to a show, we're doing, X, Y, Z. Maybe you'll go to Ellis Island for talking about your, heritage or something like that. But you go to Boston, all we talk about in Boston is, the history up there. You go to Philly, all you do is talk about the history there. Never at any point did they mention, by the way, New York City is an older city than both of them, and which I love bringing up, especially on the rare chance that I take people on tours from Boston. Any chance I get to stick it to them, I will take it. And it's one of these things where I felt like New York doesn't get the credit that it deserves. Again, this is completely anecdotal, so this was my sort of one-sided beef with nobody apparently to sort of go out and do something like this. But I went to Fordham for college up in the Bronx at Rose Hill. I majored in history, graduated in 2012, which was a great time to graduate. So inevitably, with a history degree, what do? I go into financial software, and I have been in the software world and continue to be in the software world. Landmarks in New York is still a fully part-time hobby that I enjoy, and it's a way to keep myself sane. And that's really the way that it started. Was by 2018 was when I discovered that there was a tour guide licensing exam in New York, and I just wanted to see if I could do it. And that was literally the impetus of this. Is I took the test, and then I saw that I got the nice little star next to my name and figured, okay, great. People are going to start reaching out to me and offering me jobs left and right, which is not how the world works. And so I did what I did best, which I procrastinated and didn't do anything with that license other than pay the dues every year to make sure that it would renew. By 2019, I had gotten a job that was for a commercial real estate technology company. And I'm sure a few people here have worked with in the commercial real estate or around that. Not the best people. And I had a very, very toxic work environment. And it got to a point where I just can't compartmentalize stress. And it was so bad that I was going home, having that stress sort of consume me. And I realized very quickly, I need a hobby and I need one fast. And I talked about this idea with some friends where I'd always been interested in sort of looking into sort of that history. I think a big part of it was I read Island at the Center of the World by Russell Shorto, and that really, I was fascinated by the Dutch period. I'd come to find out through my doing research for this that it turns out my 10th grade grandfather showed up here in 1650, and his house was on Broad Street, so even though I'm not a native New Yorker, at least I can kind of claim that. So anyway, it was St. Patrick's Day of 2019, I finally decided enough was enough. And I borrowed my sister's camera. I didn't know how to use it, so I went on YouTube and figured out how to use a camera. Very, very helpful. And my friend and I just walked around where I was on the Upper East Side, and I just started taking photos. And I figured to myself, I'm gonna just try to make an Instagram account where I will document. I'll just try to do a building a day. Let's see how long I can do that for. And it's been 5.5 years, so clearly it's had some legs to it. And what really got me thinking about doing the landmarks, or specifically the official New York City landmarks, was I was walking home one night from this office. I was working in Midtown East. I lived on the Upper East Side, and I just happened to pass by the Roosevelt House on the Upper East Side. And I had seen this plaque a million times. I never stopped to read it, but that night I just happened to stop and read it. And I realized that, this is really, really cool, and how many times have I walked past this building without thinking twice? And the answer is many, many times. So I had figured that with the fact that Bloomberg had been mayor, that there had to be a database of this somewhere, and of course there is, and there's a lovely map by the Landmarks Preservation Commission that shows all 38,000 or so landmarks that we have at this point. So I just looked at the map and I'm like, all right, I've got a lot to work with, let's get going. And I use it as a way to not only sort of decompress after work and just to sort of, I wanted to improve my writing skills, and I just wanted to see, I did this for myself, is what I'm trying to get at. There was no audience in mind besides me. And I figured maybe some people will find this interesting. I was lucky enough that nobody had taken Landmarks of NY as a Instagram handle yet, so I think that genuinely went a lot further than most of the things that I actually put on that page to give it some air of legitimacy. In fact, the New York City Landmarks Preservation Commission started their Instagram about a year after I did, when they started seeing how things were going. So they tried to get me to donate some photos, and I'm like, maybe some money. With having said that, I still had this tour guide license, and I sort of thought, okay, well, maybe I'll build up this Instagram audience and use that to attract people to my tours. And then 2020 rolls around, and then that's not really a great time to get started on that. So I just continued to use this throughout the pandemic as a way for me to just get out of the house. It was a socially distant activity, and just sort of explore parts of the city that I wouldn't necessarily have thought to go to. And I really wanted people to understand, when I was writing things on this page, was there's so much that you can easily miss. I constantly, and when people come on my tours, generally speaking, a lot of them live in the 5 boroughs or Hoboken. So I appreciate that it's hit a chord with the not necessarily the native New York crowd, but the actual inhabitants of New York City. And generally I'll get people telling me like, hey, I've lived in the Village for 4 years and I've never known about these buildings. I want to be able to tell my friends when they come into town or something like that. So it was a really interesting community that kind of got built up around there. And in 2023 is when I got approached to write this book, which is very, very lucky. If any of you have dealt in the publishing world, that's not usually how that works. So I'm very grateful for my editor, who literally slid into my DMs and said, hey, have you thought about writing a book? And I had to do everything in my power not to jump out of my skin and be like, yes, I had to play it cool. And so they were actually the ones who chose the title, which is Hidden Landmarks of New York, which I was like, oh boy, this is gonna be a multi-edged sword that I'm gonna have to deal with. And so I had to figure out, okay, how are we gonna do this? Like, what is hidden in New York, and it's what is hidden in this room? So I'm very curious if anybody of you actually have the book. If I had one building in there that you didn't know about, I'll have considered that a success. But she came to me, she said, okay, we're thinking Hidden Landmarks of New York. Can you basically distill the 5 boroughs into 100 buildings? And I was like, can you give me any more? She's like, I can give you 20 more. I'm like, oh, I'll take what I can get. So I basically went through and I thought of every single neighborhood I could, and then she gave me some guidance of, no offense, but Queens, the Bronx, and Staten Island don't sell. You have to focus on Manhattan and Brooklyn. You can add a little bit for the rest of them. Sorry, everybody else. That was an editorial choice. It was not my choice. So I basically came up with every neighborhood I could think of, Manhattan and Brooklyn, divided that number, and plus Queens, the Bronx, and Staten Island. I divided that number by 120, and I'm like, great, this is how many I have to work with per neighborhood, which is not exactly an easy thing to do. So what I ended up doing was I initially started just thinking to myself, okay, well, let's just rewind. Let's go back to the oldest buildings, and I will just chronologically start from the oldest and work our way up. And while it sort of got at the idea that I wanted people to understand things like the Wyckoff House or the Bound House or the Onderdonk House, that these things still exist, you start to realize pretty quickly that by the time you hit the 1820s, there's only so many 2.5-story buildings you can write about that some old white man who ran a carting business built. And I started realizing very quickly that that's not a story that is that we can keep turning into an entire book. So I had to rethink my strategy. And what I ended up coming up with was, okay, there's a couple different categories of hidden that we could work with. There's obviously the ones that you just wouldn't know about, like something like on Staten Island, the Akawahang Manahanung, which I practice many times saying, which is the Native American archaeological site on the South Shore that has evidence of human activity for 8,000 years. That's something that, your I don't go above 14th Street crowd is very certainly not going to Tottenville. So there are things like that. You have maybe more remote landmarks or landmarks that are, you know, I like to say like the Wyckoff House or like the Bound House, things that are maybe underappreciated by, you know, the demographic I was just saying before was somebody my age who probably lived in Manhattan. And then we have the hidden in plain sight or hidden stories. And those ones I thought were the most interesting. That one was what I considered something like the FDR house, of a building that, you know, it's a gorgeous townhouse. I mean, hey, if my mother-in-law wanted to give me a wedding present like that, I'd let her move in too. But it was a situation where I wanted people to understand that, you know, how often are we just rushing back and forth to wherever the heck we need to go, never stopping to really appreciate it. I was hoping maybe I can get somebody to slow down just once and actually take a look around them and see what's actually there. I like to say that, hey, we pay the taxes, why can't we be tourists in our own city? They shouldn't have all the fun. So in doing so, I sort of came up with the idea of, okay, if I can't just do chronological, can I sort of try to tell the story of a neighborhood through a few buildings, or borough, which is obviously not exactly easy, but that's sort of the approach I took. So if I could find the oldest building, that definitely would throw that in there. But I really wanted to uncover the stories behind these buildings, because at the end of the day, the reason why I personally feel like the architecture of New York is so interesting is obviously it looks cool, it's pretty, but it's the people who built them that matter. Like otherwise it's just a bunch of bricks or steel or things like that. So how can we uncover some of these stories that people wouldn't necessarily know? I love talking about things like, you know, the first one in the book is the Seton Shrine down on Water Street, down at the bottom of Manhattan. And that's one where when I bring tours down there, I love to do this little gotcha joke, which is, you know, okay, if we're looking at these buildings here, what year do we think the church is from? So it's right next to the, you know, the houses from 1793 or 1796 and 1803, and then the church is from like the 1960s. So I'm like, all right, do we have 1700s, 1800s, 1900s? Then I throw 1960s, and everyone's like, what? And I'm like, yeah. So it's one of those things where I'll have people who are like, I worked down here for 40 years, had no idea that, you know, that church was new or why it's there or the fact that why Seton lived there or anything like that. So I just wanted to basically go through and say, hey, like, I find this interesting. If I find this interesting, maybe somebody else will find this interesting. And that seemed to have been the case over the past couple of years with something like this. And it's been an absolute whirlwind of a journey. I've gotten to see so many cool places. I got to meet so many cool people. I had the former Consul General of Sweden invite me over for breakfast because they own a landmark townhouse on Park Avenue, which they will immediately tell you, we got it for a deal. They are very, very concerned about letting you know that right after World War II. So they're like, well, we didn't get bombed. We had a little bit of money left over. And she mentioned to me that she had started following the Instagram page during COVID as a thing to do after work, just to get out of the house and then do something, which is absolutely fantastic. I was like, I could have never in a million years thought that, you know, my stress relief would end up having coffee with a Swedish diplomat and homemade kombucha, which, hey, if you're serving it, I'll take it. It's just been one of these things where the reception has been absolutely overwhelming. We had an event at Grace Church with 550 people who showed up, which, again, this is my hobby. This is not I'm as shocked as the rest of you that I'm up here. I got lucky, and I think a good percentage of how this came to be was my work as a guide, because as guides, we need to sort of understand very quickly, what is this and why should you care? And that is something that I've sort of taken to heart, where I wrote a picture book. I'm not, making any bones about that. Like it's short, it's very to the point. I don't know if I could write a book, but the whole idea behind this is, okay, clearly the education system of this country is not doing particularly well when it comes to anything, or history in particular. So how do we make this accessible? And how do we make this as easy as possible for people to kind of understand? Now, obviously there are challenges with that. Simplification of anything is going to lead to some form of bias. So I try to make people understand that, please let this be your introduction, and then let this spark you for the deep dive. Because, I was always obsessed with history growing up. I had so many people, my wife included, who just couldn't care less. They thought it was the most boring thing ever. And to an extent, I can see where they're coming from. If you're just, being taught in class, oh, we're going to talk about the panic of 18 blah 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 today, which caused cattle prices to drop. Like, you're all getting bored right now with me talking about that. And I've always loved David McCullough's work, and he had a very good point in a talk that he gave, where he said that, I'm paraphrasing here, but history isn't about politics or the military or anything like that. It's us. It's the story of us. It's the story of life. It's the story of music and art and dancing and poetry and finance and all this other thing. So I say if you don't enjoy history, it's because you just haven't found the right bit of it yet. Because you can't tell me you're bored with everything in life. Because if you are, then you got bigger problems than enjoying history at that point. And I also tried to have that kind of cross section of bringing in different stories that aren't just about a building is in this book because of its age. It's there because oh hey, one of the most influential black dancers lived in this building, or oh hey, one of the first Dutch colonists came here, or this is where the native Lenape lived and has this much history. Using buildings is a little bit of a double-edged sword too, because obviously for a building to be landmarked, to still exist, there's a certain demographic of people that they preserved at the beginning of the landmarks preservation process that they've gotten slightly better about as we've gone a little bit further closer to today. So I tried to look for a diversity of stories as well as a diversity of building types. I do have 2 copies with me. Unfortunately, like I said, I don't have any to sell tonight, but most of the local bookstores around here should probably have them if you are interested at all. But I would love to, if you want to flip through them, I do need them back. One of them is mine and one is for my 6-month-old son. But yeah, right now paternity leave, so that's the beauty of, I wish it wasn't during the winter because I could probably throw a few more tours in and do all right for myself. But no, I chose a polar vortex to take time off in. So with that being said, I'm much faster than I thought. See, that's the beauty of being a tour guide too, because you learn how to talk fast and get to the point, right? Does anybody have questions that I could answer?
Yeah, so any questions for Tommy? Yes, Eileen. Sorry, Stephanie. Stand up, please, stand up.
Not putting you on the spot, but you said there's 38,000 landmarks. I could Wikipedia, how many buildings are there in New York? And knowing that if you're trying, what is your process? Do you actually go find something every day, or do you batch them and then you post every day? And given that there's 38,000 and only 365 days in a year, how are you selecting what you're going to find?
Yes, so you're about to realize how amateur this operation is. I don't know what I'm going to post tomorrow. So I don't know how many buildings there are. It does, when you look at the map, at least Manhattan and Brooklyn, you're like, oh wow, that is a lot of coverage. And most of the landmarks in New York fall under the landmarks historic districts, as opposed to being an individual landmark. And that's something I try to explain in the book as well, as you have these, Grand Central or the Empire State Building or anything like that, but then all these buildings that are protected could be just a building from 1827 on Christopher Street. So the process is really, so I start with that map that I mentioned. So the Landmarks Preservation Commission has a digitized map. You literally can look at all 5 boroughs. It has every single building highlighted in whatever, they have a different legend of, if it's a historic district, individual, interior, scenic, anything like that. So that's all accessible. And the beautiful thing about that is they link to the designation report. So that's where I start. I start with the designation report. If the building, so here's the other fun part. So I'll usually choose a neighborhood. I'll go over there, take a few photos, and then work my way through that. So I don't have to deal with the everyday thing. And after 5.5 years, I've built up enough of a backlog, or I've built up enough photos that if I haven't posted in a year, I can put something else back up. So if I'm particularly busy, that's not much of an issue. That allows it to stay the hobby status. So I'll go to a neighborhood, I'll take a bunch of photos, and then I won't look up ahead of time what they are. I will find the building that looks interesting. I say if I can get a good photo, great. If I can't get a good photo, hopefully it's a good story. Ideally both, and preferably I won't post one that has neither. So I will have to figure out if a building, because I think it might be ironic for me to say this as the guy who's doing stuff with landmarks. There are definitely buildings where I'm like, really, that one? Like, okay. And it could be something like, oh, this is the only building that has a bird carved above this 2nd-story window, and I'm like, okay, that's niche, but whatever. Or they might just not have any information on it at all, in which case I'm like, okay, what's the point of that there? in those situations, if you read the post, if I start talking a little bit more about the history of the neighborhood, you'll know I can't find much information at all. I also find things like I think it's newspaper.org, really helpful. I'll try to do address searches in those. That's where I found out that there was a funeral in the apartment above mine, which really shocked my neighbor who was at one of the talks when I mentioned that. So that was fun. So yeah, on occasion, if I'm organized enough, I'll stick with a theme and go for it. Like last year during Black History Month, I spent a very good amount of time in Adderley Park in Queens, focusing on a lot of the musicians and artists who lived out there. But for the most part, it's just sort of, it's all been at a whim. So I will look through my photos tonight. I will find one that I've either done or I haven't done that looks good, and I will try to find something interesting and try to truncate it down to a very short little caption.
Okay.
More questions for Tommy. Robin.
Can we get your book through your link tree?
Yes, I think. I'll double check, but I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Anybody else? Yes, Nina, stand up, please.
Is it Hidden Landmarks of New York City?
Of New York. Well, I mean, the buildings are all in New York City, but the title is Hidden Landmarks of New York. NEWRNY. Yes, the full,
okay.
fully written out.
Yes.
Jim, once again, thank you. I got interested in the opposite of what you do, anti-landmarks, buildings that are so atrocious. I got interested just this year. It was on, I think it's 150 West 96th Street on the Upper West Side. It's a very important building. It's called brutalist architecture. So there are buildings that are, whatever that's an important building too, because it's an important era of architecture. It's one of the first cooperatives in the city. It's very important. But I'd love to see it torn down. There are buildings, not important, that stand out as being exceptionally bad. I mean, you might even say the one behind the Grand Central Station. But there are buildings that, anyway, it's just, when you finish this book, which I guess you never will, you might look at the negative side of bad pieces of architecture.
It's interesting you say that, because I did have somebody ask me a question at one of the events of what's my thoughts on the preservation of buildings like that. Especially brutalist is always the go-to when people are asking about this. And I do find it interesting because I too am not the biggest fan of that style of architecture. But having gone through all this, I've realized how many people thought that brownstones in Brooklyn at one point were ugly, or come on, and it, being in the social media world as well, you sort of see just how, especially now, the acceleration of different tastes and how they turn over and turn over and turn over. So I am for the preservation of some. As ugly as they might be, I do think it's important to continue, we're just the next step to hand this off to the next generation, right? So you gotta preserve some of that so people can see what it looked like. Maybe, 100 years from now, if we sell brutalist stuff and people are like, no, this is really terrible, then okay, at that point, go for it, tear it down. But I do.
All the more difficult the older it gets.
Yeah, that's true. Concrete, lovely material. But that's something that's brought up to me from a lot of people from Boston complaining about City Hall, which I totally understand. I'm just very glad. Yes, I'm very glad that New York decided to keep our the one that we have.
I had a question.
Yeah.
So you said you got your editor up to 120.
Yes.
What was number 121? The one that you were like crushed you couldn't get into?
That's a good one.
The one you turned down.
I think there were a bunch. I did want to do more in the outer boroughs. So I could have done a lot more with the Bronx. I could have done a lot more with Queens. I could have gone back to Staten Island and done a little bit more. I have nothing from Richmond Town in there. That would have been something I would have liked to include a little bit because I only had 3 for Staten Island that I was able to put in there. So I think the exploration of sort of the more further afield to really get the hidden so to speak, would have been higher on my list if I could have gone, for encyclopedia level or volume 2. Who knows? If enough people buy it, maybe they'll let me do that.
That's right. Okay, any last questions for Tommy? Yes, stand up, identify yourself, please.
My name is Mel. Hi. I just wondered if any specific neighborhoods were a revelation to you, insofar as you didn't expect them to yield what they did?
Oh, that's an interesting one. I think, it's interesting. I think neighborhoods like Soho or the Village, even though they're completely covered in historic districts, they've gone through so many transformations that when you go through and actually sort of try to bring yourself back to the original building of the neighborhood, it's just so fascinating how different it is, but at the same time, how things have come so full circle, especially with something like Soho, where now it's high-end retail.
I grew up in Soho.
And it used to be retail, and then so, and how, that also used to have almost been lost with the Lower Manhattan Expressway, and it's, I love being able to peel back these different layers, and I also think down in the financial district, just because I am so interested in the Dutch period and the 400th anniversary, to be able to show people what's still there, because even though there's very, very little, just, even when you tell people that, hey, the street system down there is the original Dutch plan, that blows their mind. And I love being able to do that, or take them to, the Lovelace Tavern or anything like that, or tell them about how France's Tavern, might not have looked like France's Tavern. That being said, they did mention to me that they have hired forensic architects, so I'm very interested in finding out a little bit more about what they find out, because they wanted to find every single brick that's original, so we might know a little bit more about, they're making a play for enough of us putting asterisks next to, the oldest building in Manhattan, that they probably got pissed off enough to do that. But again, I think it's the areas where you can sort of do that sort of layered peel back, and get a better sense of what it was originally built for and how it got to where it is now. I think I love being able to the exercise of trying to put yourself in the place of what it would have been like at that time. I like to tell people how when you read a history book, the events it seems like the events make sense. Like this happened, then this happened, then this happened. Logically, of course it did. But if you put yourself back in 1802 at the border of Soho, nobody knew how that was going to turn out more than we know what's going to turn out tomorrow. So I love trying to put myself back in there and try to shed these preconceived notions that I have of the place.
Probably have time for one, maybe two more questions. So over here, Ian.
Yeah, hi, Ian Fernandez.
Hey.
So this question might sound a little bit cliche, but are you able to describe one of the sites that didn't make the cut for the book? Maybe like one of the other outer boroughs besides Brooklyn?
Yeah, so like Queens is an example. The Onderdonk House, I thought very much about including that. The reason I ultimately didn't was, again, I said I was trying to have sort of a diversity of stories, diversity of type of building, so it sort of came down between that and the Bound House, because we're talking about relatively similar times, although the Onderdonk's a little bit newer. So I figured if I was going to include the Bound House and the Friends Meeting House, then maybe I should try to look at something a little bit more modern, so including sort of like the Queens County Courthouse in Long Island City, to talk about how like Long Island City was its own city because of the Long Island Railroad. Like that was sort of the reasoning that I would leave something out, is if I have something that's similar enough, let's use that to start, and then if we have a volume 2 or something, then we can also include those goodies for that. But the Onderdonk House was probably cut off number 1, if I had to guess.
Okay, 2 more questions. Mike, then Jeremy, then we do have to move on.
Was the New York City Landmarks Commission available to you?
I used their findings. I did not have any contact with them whatsoever.
And can I ask about your sources?
Yeah.
Well, outside New York City, outside the borough of Manhattan. Can you talk about those?
Yeah, so again, the Landmarks Preservation Commission designation reports were usually where I would get started. The newer reports are great because they also include their sources, so I'd go track down what they did. So imagine somebody doing the research already and compiling everything for you. It's very nice of them. Like I said, I would also look at, use ACRIS or the Department of Buildings or things like that, just to try to dig in a little bit deeper. Any kind of newspaper articles I could find from the Daily Eagle, the Times, anything from before 1800, I would go with that as well. I also tried to keep it high level enough that I didn't need to dig into any, this book is not gonna have any new revelations, right? Like, I'm not out here trying to, do brand new research. This is just, how can I consolidate my idea of what a guidebook I'd be interested in doing would be, and how we put that together. So that's kind of how I went about it.
Jeremy.
Hi, so obviously your book and your Instagram is about your photography, so I was actually just curious, what kind of camera do you use? Technical question.
Many of them.
You graduated from your sister's camera.
I did graduate from my sister's camera. I thank her very much for it. So my sister had a entry-level Nikon. I don't even know what it was. Most of the photos in the book are from a Canon 77D, which is a glorified entry-level camera. Just goes to show you, doesn't really matter what camera you have, it's just the one that you have with you. A handful, I think 3 of them in the book are iPhone. And then today I've upgraded a bit. I have a Canon R6 Mark II, and I'm also doing a lot more with sort of film photography. So I have an old Fuji medium format Fuji camera, a Canon film camera, a couple things like that. So the photography was an added bonus that I just got into it. I had no prior experience with it, and it turned into my literal favorite hobby. It's like a really expensive fidget spinner. It takes up just enough of your mental energy that you can just focus on what's in front of you, drown out the rest of it. I absolutely adore going out and just walking these neighborhoods with a camera. Only one neighborhood has yelled at me so far for doing that. That was Riverdale. So I haven't gone back there since. They are punished. I think the guy was sitting by his way. He was just waiting for somebody to walk by. I could not, it's like literally, I crossed the threshold of the driveway. Window gets thrown up. Hey, this is private property. Like, whoa, buddy, okay, we're cool. But everywhere else has been delightful.
I saw one more hand up in the back. I think it was Michaela. Then we do have to move on.
I was just wondering if you've gotten any insight on properties from people who live there or who have lived there in the past, or?
A few people, yeah. I had somebody reach out to me about a wooden home in Park Slope that her parents own. And I said, if your parents ever want to sell at a huge loss, I am their guy. But she did provide me some information about, they had some records of, ownership over I don't think that actually made it into the book because it just wasn't relevant to the story about it. I usually try to focus in on one story. On occasion I'd go on multiple stories depending on it. But yeah, I've had some people who've reached out saying, this is my house. There's a photo I have in there from Park Slope. It's my neighbor's house at Christmas time. It has just like a little dusting of snow on a gas lamp with it's like Currier and Ives level, right? And I met my neighbors through that because somebody sent it to somebody who sent it to them. They're like, oh my God, wait, you live here? So I've had now lunch in that brownstone, and I'm like, it's nice. I live in a basement, so I have to just deal with that. But that's been really cool, the connections that you make through all of this. And like I said, this is a hobby. I never thought it would get to this point. So the fact that people are willing to just reach out to me unsolicited and start sharing information, that's the coolest thing to me. And it's very, I take that very seriously too. If people willing to take time to share stuff with me, I try to do as much as I can with that. So I'm very, very, very fortunate in that regard. I don't know how I got into that part from your original question, but that's my answer.
All right, how about a round of applause for Tommy? Book's available at local bookstores and on his link tree on his Instagram and other places, I'm sure.
Yeah, Strand has a bunch.
Strand has a bunch. There we go. Awesome. Okay. So we're going to move into our committee reports. We're going to start with the awards committee. Sarah Lyons.
All right. Hello, everybody. This is going to be super brief. I just wanted to make sure that everybody remembered what we announced last time. I want to welcome everybody to join us at the Apple Awards. They're coming back. Our Apple Awards ceremony this year will be Monday, March 3rd. Monday, March 3rd at Merkin Hall at the Kaufman Music Center. Those of us who were there 2 years ago will recognize the space. It's a gorgeous space. There will be a reception starting at 6:30, and the ceremony will begin at 8. Now, I recognize a number of you from your black tie duds the last time you were there. For anyone who's like, do I want to go to the Apple Awards? I don't know. Well, on behalf of myself and the committee, I want to thank our fantastic guest speaker and our fabulous hosts. Why am I doing this on the behalf of the committee as well? Because they are both nominees, my friends, and if you enjoyed tonight, you should celebrate with them on March 3rd. Also, I owe you emails. I know this. By the end of the week, you will have a formal invitation from me. But yeah, it's going to be a fantastic time. Tickets will be going on sale in a week or two. We're waiting on some final admin details from the venue to make sure that the ticket sales can be up and running. You should check your emails and Facebook for when that happens. And finally, there will be a meeting by the committee on Zoom at 6 p.m. on January 21st. So we are in the throes of planning. There's going to be a lot of getting ready for the day of the event. And if that's something that excites you, you want to be able to volunteer during the event, or you want to help out with the last-ditch effort for fundraising and getting food donations, please, fundraising and food donations, if this is something that excites you, come talk to us, please. We would love to have you there, and I just got the notification that Wild Apricot told you all about it, so I know it's in your inboxes. If you want to go, you now have the details. Does anybody have any questions?
Any questions for Sarah about the awards? Yes, Kevin, stand up, please.
How do you volunteer to help?
You email awards@GANYC.org if you aren't able to attend the Zoom meeting, or you attend the Zoom meeting, or you do both. No matter what, we will always have a place that is warm in our hearts and in our space for you.
Okay.
Can I just say something?
Yeah, Susan.
Okay. So if anyone has any contacts, we're always looking for food. Donations, we may be able to pay a little bit, right?
Yes.
But if you have any contacts,
What type of food? What are we talking? Twinkies?
whatever food.
Think about cocktail hour. Think about cocktail hour.
Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you.
No one's going to be sitting down
Now,
to
we're
a
not
chicken
having a
parm.
sit-down dinner
but-
unless someone wants to donate it.
Hey, if you can give us chicken parm bites, I won't say no.
Yeah.
I want you to imagine giant arrows over Susan Birnbaum's head with exclamation points next to them, because I
Thank
second
you.
everything, I endorse everything we just said.
Okay, great. Thank you, Sarah. Next up, the Education Committee, Nina Mende. Come on down.
Yeah, we always have a long report, and half of it is in the minutes. So we always thank people who did tours. Since we've had just 3 tours before, we had the Diger Lights tour in December, and Jeremy did that over there. I don't know if Mark Catapano is here, but he did a Solstice in Brooklyn Heights tour. And then we had Chinatown with Stan O'Connor. So they are forever immortalized in the minutes. So if you do FAM tour, people can look you up. Hey, he's an expert in Chinatown or Diger Heights, and you get some work that way. I mean, it's but that, you know. Coming up in January 17th, Toasting to Time, our journey through Greenwood Cemetery with crafted cocktails with James Hoffman. Very unique tour. Jeremy was sort of an organizer with that, and you'll be toasting in Greenwood Cemetery. It's interesting. So coming up on the 24th, and Bob Gelber is right here, Mr. Woolworth himself. He's doing 2 tours of the Woolworth building. We started doing those tours way back 2013 when they opened it to the public, and Bob worked there, and a couple other guys, including myself. But Bob is an expert, so and it's all sold out, but maybe it'll come back, maybe more. And then the 24th, George Tonkin is doing U.S. Army Garrison Fort Hamilton, led by Justin M. Batt, curator for Fort Hamilton. And George Tompkin is kind of an expert on Alexander Hamilton, so he really knows his stuff.
What was the date on that?
That is the 24th.
That's booked.
That's booked, but you never know, they're on course.
February 5th, no?
Yeah, February 5th.
Is it February 5th? No,
February 6th.
I'm sorry, I kind of jumped around. February 6th. Now, Lisa, we're working with the 400 committee, and I'm sure that Gary's gonna have a whole report, but Lisa knocked it out of the park with some ideas. And coming up, we're going to have the PDP on February 10th, Buried Beneath the City, an archaeological history of New York, copyrighted by the New York City Preservation Commission, and it'll be presented by two of its co-authors. And the start time is to be announced. And also on March 6th, author Lainey Holden, this is also organized by Lisa, will be discussing her recently self-published book, Catalonia. How do you pronounce it?
That's not the way it's spelled.
Okay, and it's a life in New Amsterdam. So two ideas related to the 400th anniversary. If you have an idea for a guest speaker, you just give us, contact education, and you get to introduce them. That's a nice thing if you have. Also, we have a whole, if you're trying to cancellation for FAM tours, it's your responsibility. And we have a video on the website and if some of you are new, so you might not have gotten the FAM tour policies and procedures document sent to every member on 10/22/24, so maybe we'll resend it for the new year. And if you can access the document and instructional video on the GANYC website, and you click on the members tab, upper right hand corner, log in, click on policies, procedures, and code of conduct for FAM tours and events. And that'll tell you how to register, how to cancel, or any questions you have. And if worse comes to worse and you're having trouble with the website, you always go to the IT committee, but they have a lot of work to do, and education is the committee first that you contact. Our next meeting is gonna be January 15th. And if you're interested in having ideas for FAM tours, you don't have to be a part of the committee. You want to kick around some ideas, then please come. It's on Zoom. It's at 6 p.m. And I just want to, for the new year, I know I get repetitious, but reading all the members of the education committee.
You got about 20 seconds.
Okay, Bob Gelder, Jeremy Wilcox, John Semlek, Lisa Puccio, Susan Birnbaum, Eileen Rourke, Mark Catapano, Sarah McGrath, and Lee Hallingby, our rep. I say that because we don't get any money, but just recognition when you volunteer.
Any questions for Nina and the Education Committee? Okay, moving along, we're going to do industry relations with Bob Gelber. Bob, before you start your report, I started to thank you for putting together the holiday party right as you walked out of the room. So, how about a big hand for Bob and for Harvey for putting together our post-holiday party. Go ahead, Bob.
Thank you. So it's great to see all of you tonight. And just quickly, I want to thank again Susan Birnbaum, Audrey Goldstein, Jerry Gallagher for getting us here again to this wonderful space. So this part of the report is mine. The other half is going to be Harvey's, because Harvey was very busy this month, as he always is. So, since September, we have 11 new industry partners, which is very exciting for us. Also, all of you on January 17th are going to get 2 more online ballots. We have 2 more applications for industry partners. And additionally, Historic Nears Tavern, who had been an industry partner and their membership lapsed about 7-8 years ago, they have actually rejoined. So we're doing very well with industry partners. I also wanted to mention that the 8 GANYC members who were chosen for stipends to attend the NFTGA, that money comes out of the Industry Relations Committee. It was Harvey and my idea several months ago that we spread it out so as many of you as possible because in the past, we've had a fewer number, but there were 8 of you who were interested in attending, and we just want to build that up. And remind all of you that in 1 year, the WFTGA, the World Federation of Tourist Guides, conference is in Fukuoka, Japan. So hopefully we'll see
You're gonna do a
many of
stipend
you
for that
going.
too? Yeah.
There will be a stipend. I have no idea what that is. Harvey and I will have to work overtime to take care of that. I also wanted to mention, you've all seen the Woolworth tours listed that I was able to get. It took 2.5 years to get back in the building, a lot of begging, a lot of promises. So I just wanted to say for the 10 of you who are on that list, please do not enter the building before the tour. We're gonna meet at the gate at City Hall Park, because I don't wanna get thrown out before I start. And what I'm hoping is that opening it up now will get us in again, because my friend Ed Walter and I, who shares the tour with me, with 20 volunteers from the 9/11 Memorial Museum, we have literally been writing Roy Suskin, the vice president of Woodcoff Corporation, who owned the building, for close to 3 years now. And when I send him an email and I tell him all of my GANYC colleagues want to know when we could get back into the building, his response to me is, how many? With a question mark. So that's what we've been dealing. But one day, 3 weeks ago, we wrote him, and he said, yeah, I can let you in. So you never know. Let me see. Okay, so for the Harvey part of the report, Harvey attended the 2025 NYSTIA member meeting and virtual holiday party, of course representing GANYC, and Harvey is the reason that we have this award from NYSTIA, the New York State Travel Industry Association. They opened up an application to submit nominees, and Harvey saw it, he sent it in, and we got it. And this is recognizing everything the education and industry partners have done, those committees. So Harvey, thank you for taking care of that. Also, Harvey had a meeting with Sheila Wiley, who's the new Vice President of Business Development, Travel, Trade at the Empire State Building Observatory. So we will be working out invites to the Empire State Building coming around shortly. And of course, Harvey brought us Julie Payne from Hershey. And unfortunately, I was working today, so I couldn't join you two for lunch. You owe me a slice of pizza. One last thing. We have a February meeting place. We're going to be at Ripley Greer Rehearsal Studio, 939 8th Avenue, between 55th and 56th Street. We just got it yesterday. I want to thank my friend Lisa Puccio for helping me get that. Otherwise, we were just going to meet on the streets.
Which is what the guest speaker was worried about.
Yeah.
Helping me to bring his nose warm.
Yeah. Any questions about anything?
Any questions for Bob? Oh, who's the guest speaker?
Oh, I don't know who the guest speaker is.
Stand up, Lisa, and tell everybody who the guest speaker is.
Okay, next month's guest speaker, his stage name is Trav S.D. Travis D? He's a journalist, a playwright, stand-up comic, and an expert on vaudeville. Wrote a book a number of years ago that I just finished reading that was really a crack-up. It was No Applause, Just Throw Money. So he's going to be our guest speaker, and the focus is going to be on the old vaudeville scene, and maybe a word or two about the sort of comeback of vaudeville. And it'll be a fun time, and I hope all of you can make it. It should be good.
Any other questions for Bob? Okay, thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
A quick note just about the Woolworth tours, and I believe the Fort Hamilton tour as well. Jeremy, correct me if I'm wrong. The wait list for both of those has been turned off.
Yes. Yeah, because the wait list for all of those exceeds 20 people. So at this point, if you're not on the wait list, it's not gonna happen.
Right. Well, that also means if you are registered and you are a no-show, it is a $50 fee if you do not show up, okay? Because we have such demand for these tours. So there's a threshold that we meet. If the waiting list gets too long, the no-show fee goes from $25 to $50. Again, it is so disrespectful to the people who put together the FAM tours and also for people who are on the waiting list and want to take these FAM tours for you to register and not show up, which is why we charge a no-show fee.
Right.
We hope that is a zero sum at the end of the year, but it's the only way that we can try to ensure fewer and fewer no-shows. So please, if you are registered, if you cannot make it, cancel as soon as possible and don't just no-show on the day of the event. Did you have something, Lisa?
What I was going to suggest also is that if you're on that wait list, okay, and you know that you can't take, that you get called up, that you're no longer available to take that tour, there is a way of removing your name from the wait list, okay? And you would do that, if you go to the FAM Tour Policies and Procedures Instructions, it's not actually spelled out on the wait list, that was kind of like an oversight. But if you look under how to cancel a tour, where it says to go to the Wild Apricot and then go to your profile, that section on how to cancel a tour is the same, all the same steps, except where it says click on already registered, you would click on remove from wait list. And I think that's a good practice going forward, not just in this case, that going forward, not just to say, okay, I'm on the wait list, I get called, it's a good practice for you to be responsible, that even if you're on the wait list, if you can't make the tour, responsible thing to do is get yourself off the wait list so that it doesn't waste time of someone reaching out to you and then you not being able to attend. So if anyone has any questions about how to remove themselves from the wait list, email education@GANYC.org and I will reiterate what I already said, but that's where it is. Same instructions as to cancel, except instead of hitting already registered, click remove from wait list.
Great. Thank you, Lisa. Okay. All right. We have 2 more committees to go. So next up is Membership Committee. Ann McDermott, come on down.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ann McDermott, your membership chair. We interviewed. Camera. Hello, camera. We interviewed 6 people within the last 2 sessions of interviewing. And of those 6 people, 5 of them joined. None of them are here tonight, unfortunately, but, so I'm not going to read their name because they're not here and it wouldn't matter. But in any case, so thank you for bringing people in. We've got a really nice group of new guides. Let me just ask, how many of you here are new to GANYC within the last year? Very good. Stand up, everybody. Stand up. Some of you are involved, you're in the committee. The way to get connected to GANYC is to just get involved. I'll just give an example for myself. I was very intimidated by this organization and I volunteered to be on the board. So that really helped me get to know people. And so that's how I became chair of the membership committee. Some other things that we've done, we had a little sort of ad hoc networking event at this place down in the Seaport called the Herc. If you haven't been there, it's really cool. It's modeled after Hercules Mulligan from Hamilton, and it's got Revolutionary War stuff, and it's just kind of a really fun space. So if you've never been there, it's at 220 Front Street. Highly recommend bringing your guests there, especially if they're Hamilton fans, because it's not too far from Hercules Mulligan's tailor shop, where it was anyway. We're going to organize another networking event. We might do it. We haven't finalize this at Near's Tavern. We were thinking about doing it at Near's Tavern because just to kind of support our industry partners. And we had a little ad hoc meeting, Jeremy and who else was there, Jeremy? The other night? Tony was there, and I don't know, my memory's not working anymore. It doesn't matter. In case we had a little ad hoc meeting to talk about organizing for the meeting. We don't have formalized meetings, but we sort of get together every now and then, just talk about what we're working on and helping out with it. Like we like to do check-in. Check-in helps us know who's here and going forward, like how many people attended something. And so tonight we've been talking about history. I just want to give you a little bit of a history lesson. Why am I wearing this sweatshirt? This was my brother's high school. And my brother went to a Jesuit high school in Brooklyn that went out of business in 1972. And the guys who went to that high school loved it so much that they still get together every year and celebrate. And some of the folks who went to that high school, some people you might have heard of, Joe Paterno and William Blatty, the guy who wrote The Exorcist. And Brooklyn Prep, it was a wonderful school. It's now Medgar Evers College, actually, it's in Brooklyn. So a little bit of Brooklyn history there for you. In any case, thank you everybody for your support. And if you want to help out the membership committee, somebody today said they wanted to. Yes, thank you, John. I'll add you to the list, and we're going to keep the party going.
Any questions for Anne or the membership committee? We have one question, Lee.
So is there any get-together tonight after this meeting?
No, because we didn't really have a space in the neighborhood. We like to get together after the meetings, to kind of have a little social time. And we asked the membership to tell us a place in the neighborhood. And Tony and I like to sort of investigate, and we just didn't get a chance to do it this year. And you're wearing a St. Saviour's t-shirt? I went to St. Saviour's. Interesting. Yeah. So Brooklyn Prep, St. Saviour's, it's a Brooklyn reunion here.
Thank you, Anne.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, great. So one last committee report to have. I think it's the first time we're actually having a formal report from this committee, which is great. Gary Dennis with the NYC 400 committee.
He just said, I'll time you. I got it right here. Don't worry. All right. You just wasted 2 of my seconds. All right. So, hi, I'm Gary. I'm the chairman of the NYC 400 committee. It all started here. Is the slogan. I don't care what the city did because it doesn't sound as good, right? And to prove a point, I even got a tattoo, as Stephanie will tell you, right? So there you go. There's actually half this room will tell you. Given that this is the first formal what do you call these things? Presentation I'm doing about this. To let you know what we've done so far. Without the help of Harvey, I had a great meeting with someone from the Manhattan Borough President's office that are very gung-ho and on board with this. It was a shot in the dark, and they answered. And I don't have any other connections to any other borough presidents or any other boroughs, so if anybody does, that would be great. What we are looking for is a partnership, all right? What we have offered are tours, all right? Fam tours, a short tour, 2-hour tour, whatever if you want to get involved with this, great. NYC400@GANYC.org is the email. Send me an email. I'll probably say, great idea, no matter what it is, because we need to fill it. So that's number one. Number two, mark it down on your calendars. April 8th at the Center, this is because it's got a new name, the Center for Brooklyn History, there will be an event. Russell Shorto will be presenting his new book called Taking Manhattan, Giving Gary All of It. That's the name of the book, all right? He's going to be there. He is the speaker. There will be a fam before that. So this is incredibly good. And what so I think it was Nina referred to something that Lisa came up with, all right? This was an intense meeting last night. There were so many great ideas. I had a great idea 3 years ago to break a world record of doing a tour that covered all 5 boroughs, and the longest tour ever given by a human being, all right? It's a stupid thing, all right? It's stupid, all right? But she took that idea and said, why do you, break it up, but do it in 24 hours. So we are looking to plan a route, which I'm going to start working on a route. This will give us, Time Out New York will cover something as dumb as this, all right? And people will do it. And we go through the neighborhoods, and I had the idea of just basically following the marathon route, but...
So you can achieve your goal.
What?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
No, but seriously, it's sad about the marathon route. It takes you less time to run it than it would to drive it, right? So even with congestion pricing. But the point is that it doesn't have to follow the marathon route because we're leaving out a lot of Staten Island. I mean, if anything, it should start at Snug Harbor and then we get on the ferry and we come here. We cannot walk across the Verrazano, and nor will DOT shut that down for us. So, I got another minute 48 seconds. All right, so that's where we are. Any ideas for tours? Email me. And remember, you are doing it for free. It's like doing a fam tour, all right? You're doing it 2 hour tops, nothing longer than that. Whatever you think, if you are in an outer borough, do them, you have a tour of, Jackson Heights. Not pointing fingers, Jeremy, I'm just saying, all right? You have a tour of Riverdale. All right, you can't ask that guy because he got chased out. Right? There he is. He got chased out of Riverdale, just like Archie Andrews. All right, so there you go. He's the jughead. All right, so get out of here with the hamburgers. All right. Anyway, the point is, if you have something appropriate, architecture that you hate, you came up with something that made me think. The most hated architecture in New York, and we can work out a list, right? Do a tour like that. Seriously, mistakes of New York, right? There you go. Be a book like this big, but seriously, anything. It says NYC400@GANYC.org, and remember, it all started here. We will be selling pins, and I sent out to board members, and I have 36 seconds left. I will probably post it on the GANYC Facebook page what it's going to look like, although there may be an alteration to it. I know it doesn't say GANYC anywhere on it, but do you remember these subway tokens? You remember these? All right, and we can sell them here at the museum, right? And they'll go up to $12. All right, but and then at least 12. You got 24 because I got a chocolate addiction. Where'd she go? There we go. All right. All right. Sell them at Hershey. You get a kiss and a pin. All right, there you go. Good for one fare. Good for 400 years. My time is up. Thank you, and remember, send me your ideas.
Okay, any questions for Gary?
How do I turn this off?
Gotcha.
All right, great.
Any questions? No questions?
Okay, great.
Where do babies come from? Mike got a question.
Yes, Mike.
I didn't get the April 8th, where's the location?
It's at the Center for Brooklyn History, which used to be called the
Brooklyn Historical
Brooklyn Historical Society. It's in downtown, it's like right by Brooklyn Heights, by Court Street and, right there.
Yeah. But an email blast will go out, you'll have to register in advance, so don't. You can't register quite yet.
You got a question?
Yes. Yes, Lee.
So who's going on these tours of 2 hours?
Okay, that's a great question. Who's going on the tours? The Borough President's Office sends out a weekly mail newsletter. They're going to put it on that. Guide Association of New York, with our logo, is offering these tours this week. That kind of thing. All right. So that's who's going on. Who goes on? Like I do a subway history tour, and it's like something that Tom said back there. And he said, who takes these tours? New Yorkers take the tours. I've had so many New Yorkers on my tours on my subway tour because they don't know why some cars have 4 doors, some only have 3. So there you go. She has a question.
I have a question.
Yes, Alan.
Are you connected, or is it a conflict of interest with the Municipal Art Society?
There's no conflict of any kind. I would work with the Gambino family, all right? So, I don't care. I'll even work with M&M Mars. Oops, no, I'm only kidding. All right. But no, absolutely not. If you have a connection with them, which I don't really, this is somebody I know from... Yeah, well, there's somebody I'm friends with on Facebook who does work for them, so, and I don't remember her name, but I'll go through all these people and find her. All right, so.
Gary,
yes.
the email one more time.
NYC400@GANYC.org.
Okay, thank you.
And that man right over there, for a new member, he's a snappy dresser, right? There you go. There you go.
Thank you, Gary. And I just want to thank Gary in particular because this was an idea that kind of germinated starting back in February. There was actually an NYCTC meeting, and Gary stepped up after a few initial meetings to really run the committee, and he's taken the ball and run with it. There's some other things in the works that he didn't have a chance to get into tonight, but more information to come. So really excited, and hopefully it's something you all can work into your tours as well. I talk about it a lot on my tours that this year we're going to have a lot of big parties. So so keep that in mind. It should be a really really fun year that can really highlight guides and GANYC kind of as an ancillary benefit of these NYC 400 celebrations. So, yes, Catherine.
If we're opening this up to the public.
Stand up.
Hi, I'm Catherine. If we're opening up these tours to the public and they're free, how are we doing the bookings or registering?
That we have not gotten that far yet, but, so I have to stand up. We have not gotten that far yet, Catherine. But I'm assuming that if the city is advertising it, that we need to be prepared for, you know, like they're gonna have to have some sort of registration system, or we are gonna have to have some sort of registration. Because if 60 people show up, you know, you're kind of screwed, right?
Okay.
Although I would do it, because I'm very shallow, I need attention. No one's arguing that, right?
Okay, I thought I saw another hand up. Was there another hand? Oh, Jeremy, you had a hand up.
I would like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Okay. 30 seconds. Okay, the meeting is adjourned.